When I was 23, I had exactly $143 in my bank account and was sleeping on a friend's couch. I thought building wealth was impossible without rich parents or a six-figure job. I was dead wrong. In just 18 months, I went from that couch to having my first $10,000 invested, all while working a regular job that paid barely above minimum wage. The 7 strategies I'm about to show you don't require special connections or even a college degree, just the willingness to start exactly where you are. Ever wonder what it feels like to check your bank account and see just $143 staring back at you? That was me at 23, working a job that paid just $13.50 an hour while sleeping on my friend's lumpy couch. Not exactly the financial success story I had imagined for myself when I graduated with my completely useless liberal arts degree. I remember sitting in that cramped living room, scrolling through Instagram, watching people my age posting from tropical vacations and showing off their new apartments. Meanwhile, I was eating ramen for the 3rd night in a row, trying to stretch my paycheck until Friday. The $143 wasn't even going to cover the remaining portion of rent I owed my friend, let alone food for the next week. The wake-up call hit me one Tuesday night when my car started making this horrible grinding noise. I pulled over, called a tow truck, and then had a complete meltdown on the phone with the mechanic. When he told me it would cost $380 for the repair, I actually laughed. Then I cried. I had no emergency fund, no credit card with available balance, and no family I could ask for help. That was the moment I realized I was completely trapped in the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. What made it worse was looking around at my coworkers who were in their 40s and 50s, still making just a couple dollars more per hour than me after decades of work. Was this really my future too? The anxiety about money started affecting everything: my sleep, my relationships, even my ability to enjoy simple things like a movie night with friends. Was stuck in all these mental traps about wealth. I thought you needed some fancy 6-figure job to build wealth, or rich parents who could float you money whenever you needed it, or some special insider connections to investment opportunities. I spent hours watching YouTube videos of 22-year-olds showing off their investment portfolios, convinced they must have started with huge advantages I didn't have. The turning point came from the most unexpected place. While helping my friend clean out his garage, I found an old copy of The Richest Man in Babylon, this super outdated looking book from the 1920s. Out of sheer boredom, I started reading it that night. There was this line that hit me like a ton of bricks: "Wealth, like a tree, grows from a tiny seed." I realized I had been waiting for some big financial windfall that was never coming. The reality was much less exciting. Wealth building happens through small, consistent actions over time. So I tried the simplest approach possible, saving just $5 per week, about the cost of one fast food meal, and I failed completely within the first month. I'd transfer the $5 to my savings, feel good about myself, then end up withdrawing it days later for something urgent, usually late-night tacos or an impulse Amazon purchase. The problem wasn't my income, it was that I had no idea where my money was actually going. So I tried something different. I tracked every single penny I spent for 30 days in a little notebook I carried everywhere. The results were honestly embarrassing. I was spending nearly $14 a week on energy drinks, another $30 on random apps and subscription services I barely used, and an average of $45 on takeout food during my weekend shifts, nearly 4 hours of work just to avoid meal prepping. The patterns were clear, but even more shocking was the emotional spending. Every time I felt stressed about money, I'd actually spend more on comfort food, random stuff I didn't need, or drinks after work. It was this weird cycle where anxiety about being broke made me more broke. After trying several different approaches, I finally found a strategy that worked for me. Instead of focusing on saving, I focused on creating a $200 buffer in my checking account, just enough that I wasn't constantly on the edge of overdrafting. This tiny change reduced my money anxiety enough that I could actually think clearly about my finances. This shift from a scarcity mindset to what I'd call a growth mindset about money changed everything. I stopped seeing wealth as something other people had and started seeing it as something I could build slowly. Within 6 months of this mental shift and implementing some basic strategies I'm about to share, I had saved my first $1,000, an amount that felt absolutely impossible when I had $143 to my name. After that first $1,000 milestone, I became obsessed with finding ways to multiply my money. Here's the weird thing about building wealth: when you're broke, the strategies financial gurus promote are almost never the ones that actually work. The method that generated my biggest returns wasn't some complicated investment strategy or crypto scheme. It was something so simple I almost didn't try it. When I started my wealth building experiment, I treated it like a science project. I set up a spreadsheet to track every method I tried, noting the time investment, money invested, and returns. I was still working my regular job, but every spare minute went into testing different approaches. I'd wake up an hour earlier and stay up late reading about finance and implementing new strategies. Let me be real with you, my first attempts were complete disasters. I lost $220 trying dropshipping after watching those YouTube gurus promising easy money. I also blew $175 on crypto day trading because a coworker's cousin supposedly made thousands overnight. These flashy get-rich-quick schemes did exactly what they're designed to do: separate me from my limited cash. After these failures, I got serious about strategies that actually worked for someone starting with almost nothing. The first approach that showed promise was micro-investing. I downloaded an app that rounded up my purchases to the nearest dollar and invested the difference. Starting with just $5 a week plus these roundups, I was shocked when my account hit $427 after just 3 months. The app reported my returns at around 6% annually, not life-changing, but definitely moving in the right direction for zero effort. Strategy number 2 was what I call skill stacking. Instead of trying to become an expert at one highly competitive skill, I combined 2 average skills I already had: basic design and social media management. Neither was impressive on its own, but together, they became my ticket to my first $50 per hour freelance gig creating and managing social media graphics for a local bakery. I found this client by simply asking the owner if she needed help with her Instagram, which looked pretty neglected. This side income accelerated my savings dramatically. The third strategy was literally free money that was available to me the whole time. I discovered my employer offered a 401k match that I wasn't taking advantage of. They matched 50% of my contributions up to 6% of my salary. Even on my low wages, this was essentially an immediate 50% return on investment, something no stock or crypto could guarantee. I immediately adjusted my withholdings to get the full match. For my fourth strategy, I started pet sitting on weekends. This required zero startup costs beyond printing some basic flyers that I designed myself. I started with my neighbor's dog and asked for referrals, charging $40 per day. Within 2 months, I was booked every weekend, earning between $200 to $300 for what honestly felt like hanging out with cool animals. This became my most enjoyable income stream. Strategy 5 was tutoring in basic Excel and Google Sheets. I wasn't an expert, but I knew more than many small business owners. I charged $25 per hour to start and quickly moved up to $35 as I gained confidence. Strategy 6 involved buying used books at garage sales and reselling them online, which netted me an average of $120 profit each weekend. Strategy 7 was participating in user testing websites, where I made $10 to $15 for each 20-minute test, easily fitting these into my lunch breaks. The fascinating part? The strategy that performed best over time wasn't the flashy ones. My employer's 401k match combined with consistent micro-investing delivered the highest long-term returns. By adding all my side hustle money to these investments rather than spending it, I reached $10,000 within 18 months. The breakdown: about $3,200 came from the 401k and employer match, $1,800 from micro-investing, $2,500 from skill-stacked freelancing, $1,700 from pet sitting, and the remaining $800 from my other side hustles. Looking back on this entire journey, the biggest lesson wasn't finding that one magical investment or get-rich-quick scheme. It was realizing that wealth is built through consistency, showing up day after day, making those small deposits, and trusting the process even when progress feels painfully slow. Those psychological milestones actually matter too. When I hit $10,000, something shifted in my brain. My financial anxiety dropped significantly, and I started making decisions with more confidence. Your path will have different twists and turns than mine, but the starting point is exactly the same, making that first move with whatever you have right now. Waiting for the perfect time or the perfect amount to start investing is a game you'll never win. The person most responsible for changing my financial future wasn't some finance guru on YouTube, it was just me, finally deciding to begin. If you found value in this breakdown, hit that subscribe button because in the next video, I'm showing you the unconventional approach I used to transform that $10,000 into $50,000. And trust me, it goes against most of the standard advice you've probably heard. See you in the next one.